Hey, good morning, everybody. Hope you're all doing good. Just out here in the tack room this morning, getting ready to do today's YouTube video. Sort of a nasty rainy day here in Missouri. Got rain all day long, and it's gonna be a good day. I'm gonna be working on those Fish the Moment lake map breakdowns all day long. Check them out if you hadn't had a chance, man. Just go on fishthemoment.com. Check out our new lake map breakdowns. We're working on for spring right now. Putting up new ones every day, pretty much. But hey, today I'm gonna talk about a topic here that is probably gonna I'm probably going to get some disagreement from, probably going to get some agreement from, but that's just sort of the nature of YouTube videos. Anytime that you put out an opinion, you're going to get, your fans of that opinion, and you're going to get your critics of that opinion. I could sit here and I could have a plate of chocolate chip cookies and say, man, these chocolate chip cookies are great. And somebody would shoot a comment saying, man, you don't know what you're talking about. But that's sort of typical. But I look for that today to come back because I'm going to talk about what I think, in my opinion, is the most overrated bait in the country, the most overrated lure that's gotten the most hype, that is sort of unjustified, in my opinion. And I know when I talk about this, there's going to be a lot of people that probably disagree with me on it because they're probably going to say the direct opposite from what they've seen in their experience. But anyway, the tips that I give you all, and the stuff that I share with you all, this is stuff that I've learned from my own experience. I'm not saying that anybody else's experience is less valid than mine, but this is stuff that I'm sharing with you that I have witnessed myself on the water. So I think there's some value to that, because this is stuff that I'm not just randomly picking out of thin air and just telling you guys. This is stuff that I've seen with my own eyes. But the topic of today's YouTube video is chatterbaits, bladed jigs, and what I consider the most overrated lure on the market. And I want to explain why right off the bat. I'm explaining, but I think the most overrated lure out there on the market that is, the price variation on it from other models and its effectiveness just don't equate. And that's the jackhammer bladed jig. This bait right here has probably received more attention than any bait on the entire market over the past 2 or 3 years. I mean, there's been a lot of tournament success on it. There's been a lot of press on it. I hear a lot of people talking about how awesome it is. And don't get me wrong, this is a great bait. This is a fish catching bait. It has a lot of improvements over the traditional chatterbait. For example, here's a traditional chatterbait right here. So you got, the hook right off the bat. The differences is the hook. The hook on the jackhammer is more of O'Shaughnessy bend. It's got the needle point on it. It's a little bit finer wire diameter. It's a good stiff hook. The original chatterbait hook, it's still a really good hook too, but it's not really as high tech as the jackhammer hook. Another thing about the jackhammer that's really good is the keeper on it. You can see right there. It's got a really nice keeper versus the keeper on the traditional chatterbait is a little bit more rudimentary. So the keeper really keeps your bait on there really good. But for me, that's where the differences pretty much stop. I've had a chance to fish both of these baits extensively over the country, all over the country. And I heard it so much. Before I wanted to, plop down $16 on a jackhammer, I really wanted to know a little bit more about it. But I started hearing so much about it. I mean, everybody was talking about this jackhammer's awesome. You catch a lot more fish on the jackhammer than you do a chatterbait. And that's all I heard about it. So finally, I started buying them here and there and here and there. And I started fishing them a little bit, and I didn't notice any difference. And if anything, I was catching less fish on them than a traditional chatterbait. But what really changed and formed my opinion on this jackhammer being so overrated was 2 different tournaments I fished with the thing. The first tournament, it was practicing for an FLW tournament down at Lake Okeechobee. And in practice down there, it was one of those deals where there was a lot of dirty water in the lake, a lot of muddy water, been a lot of wind. It's hard to find clean water. And anyway, I found this one particular patch of grass that was probably, I don't know, 500 yards long. I had it completely to myself, and I started throwing just the traditional, chatterbait, just the, white and chartreuse chatterbait, traditional bait. And I caught like just an incredible string of bass in practice, over a 20-pound bag in this area. So this happened, I made one pass through the area with the chatterbait and, caught those fish. And I went back through it and I said, man, if they're biting a chatterbait this good, there's no telling what I could catch on a jackhammer. So anyway, I went back through the area. I just wanted to see if I could get a bite on the thing. So I went, or if they'd bite it better. And I told myself, well, if I get a bite, I'm going to cut the hook off of it. It's worth sacrificing a $16 bait if I can win $100,000. So I went back through basically the same stretch, almost immediately, but it expanded out away from it. Same conditions, everything with the jackhammer, and I never caught a fish. I never had a bite on the jackhammer fishing through the area that I just caught a big bag in 30 minutes. So first day of the tournament rolls around, and I still am convinced everybody's been hammering this thing, and I just thought maybe it was timing, maybe I'd caught those fish that were there. So the first day of the tournament rolls around, and I tied on a jackhammer because everybody told me, man, you need to tie this jackhammer on. It's going to be the deal. It's so much better than a chatterbait. And I went through my key area. I never had a bite on the chatterbait. On the jackhammer. Never had a single bite on it. Turned around, went back through, put the original chatterbait on that I caught those fish in practice on. And right off the bat, I caught a 4-pounder and a 5-pounder, just like in the first 15 minutes. And so I never put the thing down. That gave me so much confidence, or maybe something about the vibration was different. It didn't have anything to do with the components on the bait, because without a doubt, the components on the jackhammer are better than the components on the chatterbait by far. I don't have any disagreement with that. But for whatever reason, they wanted the vibration of that original chatterbait. They wouldn't bite the jackhammer. The second time was at Kentucky Lake, the same deal, the FLW tournament. And in practice over there, it was the same setup. I had this one area, fairly large flat in about 4 foot of water, and I'd caught like 2 or 3 nice ones, like 3.5, 4-pounders on the chatterbait in this particular area. And didn't do any good anywhere else in practice. So I went back there the first day of the tournament, and I had the jackhammer on, again, the same type of deals. Everybody said you need to throw the jackhammer. Threw the jackhammer all day long, and I caught one fish that weighed 6 pounds on the jackhammer. And I said, man, I know those fish are there. It's just too big of an area, Scott. There's no reason these fish wouldn't bite. I didn't have anything else to go to. So I went back there the next day, and I was way down in the standings after that first day. I had one that weighed 6 pounds. Went back there that second day, excuse me, and I started out right off the bat. I caught about a 5-pounder on a Zoom Old Monster worm right off the bat, and then I picked up the original chatterbait that I had caught him on in practice, and wound up catching 23 pounds that day on the same water that I'd fished the jackhammer and caught wood on the day before. I caught 23 pounds and wound up finishing really good in the tournament on that. So those two situations told me right off the bat that this jackhammer is not like a cure-all for bladed jig fishing. I just didn't see it myself. And I still mix it up. I still incorporate it in my fishing because I really do like the hook. I mean, you can't get past that hook. I mean, that's just a really nice hook. The keeper, I really think the bait, excuse me, I really think the bait is a superior bait component-wise, but there's something that is undeniable when you talk about, the vibration, that they look almost identical. The head design's a little bit different. It could be something as simple as the head design. Notice how on the original chatterbait, the head's pretty flat on it, and it's a little bit more of a round shape on the jackhammer on the left here. I don't know what it is about it, but there's something about it that I simply have more confidence in an original chatterbait. And you can buy those original chatterbaits for $4.99. The jackhammers are costing over $16. So as far as me buying a bunch of $16 jackhammers just because everybody else says they're catching them on jackhammers. I haven't seen it to be true for myself. I've seen it to be the exact opposite. So the point of the video today is, for the amount of hype and exposure and visibility that the jackhammer has received over the past 2 or 3 years, I consider it, probably the most overrated bait when you're trying to compare it to other baits in that same bladed jig category. And this is not to, if you like throwing a jackhammer, if you like spending $16 on them, go ahead. That's fine. And if you catch fish on them, fine. I know tons of people do. I mean, I've heard the exact opposite. I've got friends of mine that say all the time that, man, this jackhammer, you got to have it. It's just so much better than a chatterbait. You just can't believe it. And I'm open-minded to that. I'm open-minded to doing anything that'll help me catch more fish. But from my own personal experience on the water with a jackhammer versus a chatterbait, I have not seen it to be true. If anything, it's been the opposite. So personally, I have more confidence in the original chatterbait than I do the jackhammer. Not to say that I don't or won't fish it, because I'll probably continue fishing it. But man, I just think it's one of the most overrated baits out there. Even though it is a great bait. I'm not saying, if you're a jackhammer fan, or if you're associated with Evergreen that makes it, don't take offense to this, because you guys have put out an extremely great quality bait. I mean, you can't deny that about it. I mean, there's nothing about this bait that's not high. There's nothing about the bait that's not good. It's really good. But I just catch a lot more fish on the original chatterbait. So anyway, that's today's tip. I just wanted to share that with y'all. Let me hear your opinion on it. I mean, I know there's a bunch of bladed jig fishermen out there. I'd be really curious to see everybody else's experience that they've had with the chatterbait versus a jackhammer. So shoot me a comment on the YouTube video here. If you like that video, like it. Please subscribe if you haven't. And that's the video today. We'll see y'all later. Bye.